Hello and welcome. My name is Scott Suskovic. I'm pastor at Christ Lutheran Church, and welcome to this podcast that we call Deeper Dive, in which we take a look at the previous Sunday's sermon and go at a deeper level for a great conversation. We're glad you're here. Hey, welcome once again to our podcast here, Deeper Dive. Pastor Scott here, joined with
Pastor Adrienne.
And we are glad that you are here with us listening to this podcast. We actually just got back from a little bit of a retreat of sorts. Once a year, the North Carolina Synod gets together in the fall for a convocation. It's a time for prayer and relaxation. It's a time for reconnection. It's a time for worship. And we usually have a great keynote speaker that comes in, and time with the new bishop. Any highlights of that time besides playing cards late into the night?
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, I really love, reconnecting with friends and colleagues and quality time together as a team. And really, there's a learning component. I loved Dr. Catherine Schifferdecker, who talked to us about Job and Elijah and just this time and this. It feels like a chaotic time, and how we find calm and that presence of God. And I think it was the most beautiful explication of those scriptures.
Yeah. Well, I think I got 4 sermon series out of that somewhere. And when we get together next week with Pastor Ryan, we're going to hash out at least one of them. Well, you mentioned the keynote speaker, Catherine Schifferdecker. From the Luther Seminary up in St. Paul, Old Testament professor. She said something that I want to explore a little bit as we continue our conversation about abundant living. Last Sunday, I talked about the difference between abundance and scarcity, more of a mind frame, using the example of A Christmas Carol with Bob Cratchit saying, "I'm a wealthy man," and Scrooge can't stand it, saying, "You are not. Stop saying that."
All right, it made him mad.
And that's what scarcity does. It brings it inward, becomes very self-absorbed. But Bob Cratchit could see what he does have outside of himself and felt very wealthy. So I want to talk about abundance and scarcity today. Now, we can go up and down all around about when it comes to finances, because that's probably the first thing, our default. But the professor said something that made me think about abundance and scarcity in a different perspective. If you remember, she had this great story. She did a sabbatical in Ethiopia for a year. She taught at the seminary over there. The Ethiopian Lutheran Church is exploding. They're double, triple the amount of Ethiopian Lutherans than there are ELCA Lutherans.
Wow.
And it's growing all the time. Same thing in Tanzania. And but she was talking about the concept of time. I'm somewhat embarrassed that I live by the clock. I've got a calendar that is with me at all times, and I try really, really hard not to come across as rushed, but each day is pretty booked. But she gave the illustration that most Westerners are like that. They think about scarcity when it comes to time. I've only got so much time today, and when you ask people how are they doing, oh, I'm busy, all right? So we come at it with scarcity mind frame. And she had kind of a revelation of sorts while in Ethiopia that the Ethiopians come across with an abundance of time. So she gives the example that, if you've got class that starts at 2:00 and you're running just a little bit late, and someone says, "Hey, doctor, professor, how's your kids and how's your life and how would you have for lunch?" And we would say, "Hold that thought. I'm late.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you. How
Love
about
to.
later? But
It's like that rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. I'm late. I'm late for a very important date.
Yeah, that's
no
our
time to say
culture.
hello, goodbye. I'm late. But there, in that culture, there's an abundance of time. And so you would stop and you would talk and you would catch up. And if you got to class a little late, the students are not kind of tapping their pencils. They're not, I don't know, when I was going to college and seminary, there were some rules. You know, if it's a full professor, they could be 10 minutes late. If there's a assistant professor, they could be 5 minutes late. After that, we walk.
that's all right. That's interesting. You know, I appreciate that you saw that as an abundance of time. I felt like that was a difference of priority. Like, I think that's interesting. So I was thinking she was saying, as a professor, she's still busy. She still has the things to do, but the culture, it was that time had to be subservient to the people, like the person, the interaction. I didn't think of it as an abundance. I missed that when she said.
Well, I don't think you can separate the two. To be able to cultivate that relationship as a priority, it takes time. You know, sometimes I kind of chuckle to myself when I hear people say, oh, my very best friend from college, or my very best friend from high school or growing up. Yeah, when did you get together? Oh, we haven't talked in 2 or 3 years. We send Christmas cards, you know, once a year. This is my very best friend.
Yeah.
Well, how best friend can it? Maybe for a time it was.
Yeah.
But to be able to stop and pause and be with people, that needs to be cultivated, don't you think?
Oh, definitely.
It's not natural.
Emotional deposits and relationship. I mean, that's kind of like the financial translation of what you're doing when you care for someone, which is
Making
kind
deposits.
of a shame to call it that. But yeah, like there's like a banking of what do you put into a relationship, and you have like deposits and withdrawals. Now that's a really kind of, I don't know, transaction.
Crass?
It's crass. It is, but I think, yeah, there's truth in it, I guess.
You know, certainly there are people that call and make an appointment. Can I come in at 2:00 and whatever? But my best ministry moments are interruptions. And I had one today. So I had a Zoom call that was coming up at 3:30 just before this. And I needed about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to prep for it and do some just reading and everything else, so I'm ready for it. And this lady calls at 3:10. In my 20-minute window. Not a member, from Florida. She's traveling with her 11-year-old son, leaving some domestic issue down in Florida, and got stranded in Charlotte. There was a problem with Greyhound. She lost her ticket. They didn't refund it. They said they could get it back to her in a couple of days. Well, she's penniless and homeless, and sounds like she was fleeing from an awful situation down there. And she says, you know, it's 3:00 and I have nowhere to go with my son. And I'm thinking, this is more important than those 20 minutes.
Wow. Yeah.
So I said, where are you? She's in Huntersville. Well, she's at some Denny's or Lenny's or Bob Evans. That was it. And I said, well, look around. Are there any hotels, motels around where you are? And she looks out the window and she says, well, she names one over there. I said, well, I got your number. Let me call him. And so I called there, got her a room, very affordable, and called her back. And she sounded like she had won the lottery. I mean, I bought her a day to be able to negotiate with Greyhound to get her money back so that she could continue to move to where she was going, where the help was. Here's my point. I had to consciously tell myself, this is more important than doing some prep work for the 3:30 Zoom meeting. This is more important. And because I think our default is scarcity.
That's how we generally think. What's not here instead of what's here.
I'm running out of time.
Right.
I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
I can't get it all done. Our default, and I had to stop and say, default, go away.
Yeah.
I did an exorcism. I got rid of that default. But then to be able to say that this person needs my time right now.
Yeah, and that's kind of the word of God. I think it comes to us when we need to hear it. I mean, here we go to convocation, you're not really knowing what we're going to hear. And we hear this word just like Paul's preaching to the churches. And it's a reminder, like reframing things,
right,
that this is what God calls us to do. And it's so easy to get caught up in there's never enough time. I can never get everything done. I don't have time for you.
Right.
But it helped you to put it aside, to have that exorcism. And maybe you would have done that anyway without even the lecture, which you probably would have, but it's so helpful to have a reminder. It's
right. That's exactly it. It is a reminder. And I'm very conscious that my office can be a little intimidating in that there's a big desk and
heavy wood,
yeah, masculine, and so when somebody knocks on the door and says, "Pastor, do you have 5 minutes? I know you're busy, but," I say, "I'm never that busy. So yes, come over." And I have to consciously put the laptop down, walk around my desk, invite the person to sit down at the couch. And it goes a half hour. But I think for the sake of the other, we are built to be in relationship. And for the sake of the other, we have to be very conscious about showing that abundance of time for the sake of the relationship.
Yeah.
So we talk about abundance and scarcity when it comes to money. We could talk about abundance and scarcity when it comes to our time. Any other ways that abundance and scarcity comes into play?
I think with gifts, what we have to give. There are lots of other things. If someone's a quilter, someone is a good counselor. A counselor, of course, they have the professional practice, but if someone, not that they would do this with family, but if they use that for good, community help. I mean, any profession, lawyers do pro bono cases, right? The gifts you have, the work you do, how it benefits other people. So I think that, I always think of this handyman when I lived in an apartment in Hickory. I could do like bookshelf. IKEA bookshelves and stuff, but there's some things I just couldn't do, and I didn't know who to ask to help me. And this one maintenance person, on his own time and free will, would just come and help and do things I needed that were beyond just general maintenance. And I thought, without him, I couldn't have gotten this done. Like I wouldn't have known where to go. So I think gifts, like that, what people don't have. So Lutheran Disaster Relief had a suggestion of, we want money for all this hurricane relief, and it's really helpful, food, water. And then, thinking about all the collections, to have one of just put in what you do have, put it in the offering plate, and just tell us what you do have to offer. It could be anything.
I like what you were saying about just people's willingness to volunteer. And it's not just scarcity of time that holds them back. I think it's also a scarcity of ability. Whether I'm too old to do that. My back's not good enough to do that. I don't know. I can't walk that far. Whatever else. When we did that Build-A-Bed, first one, we had 75 volunteers show up.
Wow, that's amazing.
That was more than actually we could keep busy. It was a little bit more. But there were people in there that had absolutely no woodworking skills.
Okay, I'd be one of them. So I get it. But
they stepped up. I don't know what they were thought when we said building a bed. I don't know what they thought in terms of what you need in carpentry skills, but we used them all. Because some people have to just move pieces of wood from one table over to another. Some people have to sand it with the electric sander. Some people prepared the lunch. I mean, there was so many ways. But the fact that they entered in, those 75 entered in with a sense of abundance rather than what they couldn't do. They came in what they could do.
Yeah.
There's another abundance.
That is an abundance of courage, just a willingness to put yourself out there. But I don't really know what's required of me, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
And I think for us, family ministry, we try to make it doable. not everyone wants to teach and to teach all the time. And so part of it is the ministry that we can make it accessible, just like Build-A-Bed did.
I have seen that in you. I remember when I met your mom for the first time, the adjective she gave for you was, remember?
Fearless.
Fearless.
Yeah,
you're going to figure it out as you go.
That's right. Do my best to figure it out by the grace of God.
Well, so we want to encourage you to continue to think about abundance in terms of finances, in terms of your time, in terms of your volunteering, but also in terms of your relationship with God and with others, that God has given you ample time and ample abilities to go deep with Him. So this coming Sunday, we're going to tackle a tough question. What is a tithe? It sounds like an easy question, but as we dig into it, it's going to be much more difficult.
Looking forward to it.
We'll see you next week.